Hi, welcome back to my channel. Basically I wanted to do a video encompassing the idea that I've realised that the system won't take you the full way, and by the system I mean biblically the law, specifically job roles, general rules of life. Not general rules of life, would be a specification. I feel like certain things in our world that, you might get advice, for example, or whatever, you have to take yourself that last way in order to follow like your own path in life, which is why we are all individuals and we are all specific, and this gives us an ability for self-actualization, if you like, on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and an ability to follow our passions and desires. I would actually love to type in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because I do actually really enjoy looking at that. I will probably, if I find anything interesting on this, put Maslow's hierarchy of needs next to it. I might not, because I might just describe it as very simple, to be honest. The bottom is like psychological, obviously safety, love, esteem, and the top is self-actualization, which is like growth. So it's like, I do think it's important to like have a basis of like needs. But that's kind of how the system's built, in terms of, and the system's not supposed to be your be all and end all kind of, at the end anyway, because it's the systems and society even is made for socialization. It's made for, and our current society, most people's culture, and at least culture in England, is obviously you've got jobs and you've got stuff for financial stability, the function of society, people to have jobs, something to do, occupy the mind, and all that stuff. And like, but it's important to realise that is not necessarily the be all and end all of life. Not that you can't get really invested in a job and allow that to be fulfilling and a big part of your life, or a decent part of your life. It's just that like there will be a further way to go past those roles, even throughout a job, if that makes sense. It's important to navigate that. I just thought it was an interesting concept, because a lot of like lives at the moment in the world, there's a lot of like status kind of grabbing and stuff, especially over with like social media and whatever else. You can have that job title of a 1 million subscribers or whatever, but that doesn't mean you don't have to navigate life, and people that do have 10 million subscribers or whatever will have to navigate life. And obviously that's not your responsibility to think about, or mine, but it's like, at the same time, people are still human beings at a core level regardless of their status, and I think it's always important to be reminded of that. So I'm not saying that you don't know that, but I find it nice to remind myself of these things when you are bombarded with these sort of like worldly views, which I was watching an Evolution video the other day, an Evolution Church, and this was an idea brought up, which is that you have to weed out the bad worldly stuff daily, because he was talking about how in another video you can going back is better to understand where you were before a bad situation happened, and realise that you can go back to understand that before something bad happened, or before you developed all these beliefs, I'm trying to encompass this idea as well as I can. I did post this Facebook picture once which said, the real you is not the views placed on you in childhood, it was the you before the world got hold of you, or something. That's getting back to yourself. So weeding out the bad worldly stuff daily is really important, at least for me, and for people that get to that point where they're like, or like anyone, I think, just like you do have to like weed out that stuff that sort of is pushed at you by the world, of like, it could be anything, like it really could be anything, but it's important to literally weed that stuff out and like put yourself back to a core level of whatever that means for you. I do believe that we all have a set point level of being, whether that be whatever, but you may have gone through stuff in the past that has sort of messed that up, or you might just be stable, and we all have different levels of stability and different algorithms and whatever. I mean, we through various life experiences, but we all have like a set point of like where we are. So eventually, after processing trauma and like weeding out all that stuff. It's still a daily process regardless of trauma though, to weed out the rubbish in life, because we are pushed certain things that are bad. We are tempted spiritually, on a spiritual sense, by things that are wrong or gonna harm us for certain reasons. That could be anything that applies to you, whatever. I mean, I always think on a real level it's important not to be like too judgmental of yourself. Like, I'm not, again, trying to create this overly like, I'm not a religious person. I believe that God is our father at the end of the day, but I'm not like a hypocrite here. I'm trying to be, okay, maybe I am in some senses, but it's like important to take a good well-rounded view at the fact that like the world is not gonna do you any service at the end of the day, which is kind of what I was starting in the start of this video. Like, the world isn't gonna give you what you want, and like people that kind of expect, I think it's fine to rely on certain thoughts of like everything happens for a reason. You're gonna go where you're gonna go, even in the biblical standpoint. It's like God's gift in you can't be taken away by someone else. I don't believe those things are bad, but I think if you do have that mindset of like, the world's going to come to me at my feet and I don't have to go out and get it for myself, you can have like you can set yourself up for things like depression, because you're starting this sort of like, the world owes me kind of moment, superiority complex, and like it's not necessarily going to happen. It can just set you up for failure if you do have that kind of mindset. But we all have our own path, like, I'm not trying to judge here. So I also was thinking energetically, and again it is on the same vein, which is that when you do have to go and get things yourself, like, I thought about, like, something just popped into my head today, like, in school, anyone that's done any sort of science or can ever remember it, how when basically particles, if they're hot, they vibrate. The particles are like this, and if they're cold, they just kind of sit there and they're spaced out. So the idea is that if and it's the same with friction, like, that's creating heat particles, because you're rubbing these together, it's creating heat. So the energy, if there's a lot of energy in it, they're rattling about, and if there's no energy and it's cold, for example, there's no energy, if that makes any sense. And I thought applying that topic to relationships, because this, I feel like, can be an explanation for the reason why you can be surrounded by loads of people and feel really lonely, because you've got all this energetic, energy going on, but you're not actually having that emotional connection that comes with, obviously, whatever, that's a different thing. Emotional connection, it's about feeling connected to someone on a humanistic level and talking to them or whatever, but you can still feel emotionally lonely if you're surrounded by millions of people. I just thought that was a really interesting concept, and it's like, that's still to realise that the world won't always, because I think, I don't get me wrong, I think there's like a spectrum. Like, you obviously, I think going to things like parties, meeting up with your friends, going to new places that you don't know to meet different people, always going to be healthy to avoid like loneliness and meet new people and keep your socialising levels up. Like, I'm one of those people where I'm really attentive to my needs, and I just like, I feel like doing those type of things will be not always, so I just want to put that out there. I'm not like some sort of like, I'm always I'm as attentive to my needs as I try and be as attentive as I can. So like, I do think that sort of does sort of like subside like loneliness and all that, and keeps your socialising skills up and keeps you in a good confident headspace. But it will mean that like you do, like, though there's no guarantee in those situations that you're going to meet someone that is like really, really emotionally connected to you. So it's so like, it's just important to realise that. And like, even if you're like, and this is what I think the problem as well, where people like, and don't get me wrong, I swear like so many people meet loads of great people when they go to like universities and stuff. I've met people that haven't, and like they literally have just kept their friend group from home, or they like literally haven't really like met too many people. Like, I met people in like college and sixth form and stuff, like, not to say they weren't nice, but I don't really speak to them now. And I've had friends through even like sixth form and stuff that like I literally had throughout, and like I didn't really, I didn't keep the friends, but it's like in a work situation, you're not necessarily going to go there to meet friends. Like, it's going to be like, obviously like a partly professional experience if you're at work, if you're at college, maybe a little bit more social, but I'm just getting to the point where there's no guarantee that you're going to like meet those people. I suppose you go through life and you have your ups and downs, and sometimes you go through periods of time where you don't like meet that many new people, like lockdown, and sometimes you meet like loads of people like before lockdown. So for me at least, yeah. And on this vein, I think it's important to as well realise it's important to have experiences though, and not material items necessarily always, because I'm quite a materialistic girl. I'm one of these people where one of my love languages is gifts to myself, which is why I like to indulge in a chocolate bar, which I was not able to buy yesterday, but it was probably for the best because I've unfortunately developed bad habits. I wouldn't say bad habits, that's getting to the point of judgment and, you know, restrictism there, which trigger, sorry, just didn't want to do that. So yeah, like, that's not the vibe we want to be at. But I'm feeling like the point is that I'm a bit of a gift receiver. That's one of my love languages. So being that way has meant that I am... Sorry, I've literally just confused myself now. Being that way means that experience is not material items. Yeah, it means that I do like to buy the occasional clothing item, the occasional, not the occasional, I like to buy things, basically. But it's also important to invest your energy into things that aren't material, not necessarily as well even for like job, because a lot of the time what people don't realise is what's the word, drives a job. It can be a lot of things. I'm not saying working is bad, even the Bible says God will give you work and he will reward you.